across recently. I believe Ritesh. This is Ritesh. I believe he's here.
Yes, I'm here, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much.
How are you, Mr. Agarwal?
Very, very good. So Bill Gates said information and technology and business are becoming inextricably interwoven. I don't think anybody can talk meaningfully about one without talking about the other. Echoing similar sentiments of his predecessor, Satya Nadella recently said, information technology is at the core of how do you do your business and how your business model itself evolves. And what could be more true for the hospitality industry? From start to finish, the experience of hospitality is now facilitated by technological factors, many of which go relatively unnoticed. I feel Oyo founder and chairman, Mr. Ritesh Agarwal, who is with us today, is best equipped to tell us more about these experiences. Ritesh is an inspiration for startup founders and self-made entrepreneur. He's a mastermind behind the idea of Oyo, which means on your own. He's one of the most successful entrepreneurs and a tech freak with a passion to travel the world. Ritesh is one of the first Asian residents accepted to the Thiel Fellowship. He's a recipient of the Business World Young Entrepreneur Award, and he has been featured in the Forbes 30 Under 30 list for Asia. Ritesh is recognized as young innovator and one of the world's youngest self-made billionaires. He is also featured in Hurun Rich List 2020 with a net worth of 1.1 billion US dollars. Despite all these achievements, he has continued to remain humble and grounded to reality. On behalf of ICC, I warmly welcome Mr. Ritesh Agarwal. Ritesh, you are a true inspiration not only to young entrepreneurs and to startup ecosystem, but to our nation as well. And without any further ado, over to you. We eagerly look forward to hear you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vikas Agarwal, for your kind and very generous introduction. Frankly, sometimes it's a lot more than we deserve, but thank you. I understand the appreciation and love in that. Also, hello to everyone at the ICC. Congratulations in being together. I heard a little bit about the last 10 minutes or so about the conversation, and congratulations. And I think really in situations like ICC, being able to see through the pandemic, while ironically we were not meeting in person, it has brought people a lot more closer, even though we were not meeting together in person. So it's slightly ironic, but I just loved how there was a perspective and feedback that was being shared around the room.
I think thanks to your technology, because of that, I believe. So
I fully agree with what you are saying, Mr. Agarwal, which is essentially saying that in the future, every business will be a software business, right? So if you're running a factory, being able to run the factory better will mean using software better. We do this, we provide technology for hotel owners to operate their hotels better. And similarly, there will be different services that will be launched across businesses, but those will make the core businesses more successful. So I actually feel the other way around. That is, a software or technology is of no value without the real business appreciation and problem solving, and the other way around as well. That is, for a business to become more valuable, technology and software does add substantial value. So I'm very excited. Thank you everyone for having me here. I will take a short period and would like to give a quick perspective about my journey and our company, something that, as we were discussing with Mr. Agarwal earlier, he thought might be valuable for me to share. But I'm more interested about the Q&A section coming up after that, where we can have a more conversational discussion, with a follow-up. Before I start, I would like to start with a little bit of background. I'm very happy to see Mr. Pani, and I saw a few other folks from Odisha. So I grew up in the southern half of Odisha in a town called Rayagada. A lot of you may not have heard about the place. It's in the Andhra-Odisha border. As a young kid, I'm from a family which has 4 siblings, right? So I was the youngest of the lot. All my 3 elder siblings are Asian parents' dream. engineer, business school, got a good job. So all the good things that Asian parents expect. So I was always the black sheep, relatively saying that, what are you going to do eventually? But I always wanted to try and do something different. Right from my early days, when I was still in my high school, I started selling telecom SIM cards and various products like those. Long story short, that kind of a feeling of wanting to do something different remained for a long period of time. Right after my 12th grade, the 6 months between school and university, that's sort of the period that I felt that now is the time for me to start a company of my own, and I started Oyo eventually. The one outcome that I wanted to share as a part of it is saying that a lot of you will have children who are second generation, and a lot of you are also first generation. I think it is one of my learning has been that instilling the sense of entrepreneurship, not with pressure of saying that you should be in business or so on, but just entrepreneurship as something that is a way of life, problem solving and creating value around it. Coming in the early days can be incredibly valuable, because you can make as many mistakes, because some mistakes have to be made regardless. Making them early ensures that you can take benefit of those learnings to be able to be more successful. At least that's what I learned in my early days. Right after that, so I'll basically keep sharing a part of some of my experiences and what I have learned from them. And the second thing that I've learned is that, I come like people from Odisha will know that Raigada within KBK district is also considered like the lesser developed one. So regardless of where you come from, if you have a sense of hunger and ambition, because of the internet today, you may be sitting in a small village and somebody could be in Manhattan. It doesn't matter. The access to information and the availability of it is now equal for everyone because of the access to internet and digital world. So using that without being worried about here is where I am from. Should I be able, like if you have a biosciences business to pursue, one can do it, being in any part of the world. Doesn't have to be from the places where biosciences are at their ideal level. So these are two things I learned from this part. Now, as soon as I was done and I wanted to start a new business, I kept thinking, what new business should I build? Travel has been one of my passion, and I see a lot of our friends here from the near and dear parts of the place I grew up in. Travel is a very important passion in West Bengal, Odisha, and so on. Right from the early days, I remember. So even I've been very passionate about traveling. As I traveled to small hotels and holiday homes, one thing that I constantly saw is that the access to technology, dynamic pricing, the prices used to be flat price. Worst case, same price for last 5 years, the tariff sheet that they used to have. And best case, one on-season price and one off-season price, in a world where dynamic pricing was becoming very standard. Digital distribution, marketing, a lot of these structural opportunities existed. And whenever I see challenge, as any other entrepreneur would, I see an opportunity. So I felt this is such a fantastic opportunity that I can bring new generation technology to these small hotels and homes, help them increase their revenue, and also be able to operate their premises by check-in, check-out, all the software that we can provide better. That sort of inspired me to start Oyo over a period of time. Now, in the early days, coming to this business model that we got to came with a lot of mistakes. I initially tried to become just an online travel agent. That did not do that well. Then I said, maybe I should run a hotel myself. I realized that that hotel did well, but I could not scale it. Then I felt maybe I should become a franchisor. I realized I was not very good at that. Then I figured, like, that's when we got to the place, which is the Oyo's model, that we will come to the hotel, give two products, KoOyo and Oyo OS. By using this, we will make sure that we use dynamic pricing, online marketing, etc., increase the revenue of the hotel and take a fee as a part of the overall revenue. So this identification took a long time. The reason I explained this is to say that, a lot of times when entrepreneurs are getting started, in early days, there are many failures, either in terms of the primary business or in terms of within the business, what model you may want to pursue. It's very easy to give up. And everybody around you will tell you a very smart thing, which is saying that you should be smart enough to know when to give up. My experience has been that perseverance is one of the strongest competency of any entrepreneur, because that is an irreplaceable trait. So not giving up, in my view, is a substantial value. And I believe that if you keep, digging, there is always light at the end of the tunnel. So that's the second learning. By this time, our first hotel, was signed up on this new model. This was, and I'm very thankful to, our first hotel owner who chose to give the property to us. His occupancy was 18 to 20%. When I went to see him, he said, I don't believe whatever your proposition is will work. But anyway, my occupancy is so low. He used to only receive marriage business, right? Because in marriages, people would typically rent these guest houses. So he said, I don't think this will work. But I'm doing like so low in occupancy now that whatever you do, it will not get worse than this. It may not get better, it will not get worse than this. So I will definitely give you a go. I'm extremely thankful for his choice to us. In the first 3 months, we were able to take his hotel from 20% to 80% of utilization, or almost a 3 times lift in revenue, by doing basic things. First thing we did was that earlier the hotel used to have a flat pricing of 1500 rupees. In online world, as you know, there is always two sort orders, right? Sort by price and sort by rating, or sort by popularity. So I used to bring the first room for 999. So by sort by price, it would be on the top rank. After 4-5 rooms, it became more popular. So I increased the price to 2000. So after every room at one point of time, we used to increase price by 75 to 80 rupees. So average remained 1500 only. But because of dynamic pricing, the amount of liquidity the hotel could receive could increase. Second was in the format of photography. I looked at the hotels which were top 5, what kind of interiors they have. I recommended the first hotel that if you make such changes, your occupancy or your click-through rates from the listing, which is where all the hotels are shown, to people clicking on your hotel and checking your individual hotel will increase. So various things like these helped increase the first hotel's occupancy or revenue substantially. The learning that I had from them is saying that whenever one needs to create a business, and life continues to teach me this every few years whenever I make a mistake, is that if you want to build a successful business, it has to be win-win for all the ecosystem. Of course, it has to be win for the other partner. It has to be win for you as well. So that's how the first hotel started. And it used to be me and a couple of our early interns. And Anuj Tejpal had also joined by then. He's our current chief merchant officer. Between some of us, we were running the business. Now, in this period, I was lucky to become a Thiel Fellow. Peter Thiel is the founder of PayPal, early investor in Facebook. He gives $100,000 to 20 people under the age of 20. Acceptance rates are lower than Ivy Leagues, but the pursuit is, after taking this $100,000 gift, you should build new opportunities of businesses. First time in my life, I used a passport. I flew internationally. I went from, I was in Kota for my 11th and 12th grade. So I went from, a small town in India to downtown San Francisco. And it was quite new for me, but I learned a lot of things. And the most prominent thing I learned was thinking big is okay. When I
started, what age was that, if I may interrupt?
It was in 2013. So I think I was 18 or 19 then.
Oh, okay.
So it was a fantastic learning experience, and one of the most prominent, like I said, is thinking big is okay, right? Like thinking big is not one. It is a very unique skill like perseverance that is not usually taught, because if you're going to think anyway, then maybe ability to think big is valuable. You may not execute on it, but at least think. Or you may not have the resources to execute it, which is also fine. But I think just thinking big is valuable, because the problem solving and the innovation and the opportunities that come are very valuable. Of course, the probability of making mistake is also equally there. But which is why one needs to be thoughtful before they make such decisions. And look, in our company also, as we've grown, we've continuously kept learning by means of our decisions. So that's the important change in life. And what I learned from there was opportunities knocks on everybody's door. Only thing is, whenever you get it, to open both your hands and be able to pull it on your side. Which means that I got to know about the Thiel Fellowship from like a pretty random source. Once I got to know, I applied it from a cyber cafe nearby. And then they had 8 or 9 interviews. And there was no Asian resident who was a Thiel Fellow earlier. So the probability of becoming a fellow was very low. But I kept going at it because I thought, I'm learning anyway. So even if I don't become a fellow, that's fine. I will be able to take some learnings and become better as an individual through this process. I came back to India in 2014. And the path then was to be able to grow the business substantially. So over the last few years, our company has substantially grown. We are one of the largest hospitality marketplaces in the world, serve around 157,000 hotels and homes and listings. And on the other side, one of the most downloaded consumer apps in the travel ecosystem around the globe. Now, within this, there are three things I want to end the discussion with. The first is just generally the opportunity in the industry we are going after. In the travel and tourism industry, everybody knew getting clean room at right price is a problem. So being able to find the problem is one thing, and being able to execute and be able to get the results out of it is completely another. So in our real life, when I hear sometimes that what's the new idea I should pursue or what's the new business I should set up, I always encourage that look around yourself. In India, we are in such a lucky place. There's so many problems to solve, infinite number of problems to solve. So all of those are opportunities. It's very complex, very hard to execute opportunities, but opportunities nevertheless. So I think in the travel and tourism space, when I was starting, most people told me that it is the wrong segment for you to consider. You should think about e-commerce or something like that, which is what most internet companies are doing. And I thought that if I go to a segment which everybody is going into, then what would be the unique problem that I would solve and create an impact on? And that was my primary focus of outcome that I have been working upon for. Now, within this, over the last few years, we have been able to make sure the market becomes very attractive. And my soft recommendation here also is to say that with the pandemic, a lot of people may not be considering businesses like retail, like movie theaters, hotels, travel, and so on. I want to call out that these are, fundamentally humans are people who like to travel, who want to see the world, who want to go out. And that's what we're seeing in our early trends nowadays. If you go to airports, it's like they're almost full, right? Like you see almost the same traffic as earlier, and part of it is also visible in our hotels. So in that perspective, I want to call out that today it is very easy to say that, I don't want to be in a business that is not at its best today. But remember, this is the right time to enter into these opportunities to create a real unique impact, so that when the market comes back, you can create substantial amount of upside. Now, the next part I wanted to talk a little bit about was COVID, and how various businesses have thought about it. And this is where I'll talk a little bit about technology also. So as the COVID happened, our business naturally got very substantially impacted with the impact of COVID, right? Now, naturally, our focus on one side was to make sure that we prepared our company to see through the crisis. We were resilient and things like those, and we did those things. And I have talked about it earlier also publicly. But today, what I want to talk about is slightly different. And a lot of you are running very large, successful businesses, including yourself, Mr. Agarwal, who you built an ubiquitous business, which is available, frankly, everywhere, and consumers sort of, have multi-transaction use case. So I think, in that context, all of you are running very successful businesses. So you will appreciate some of the thinking here. Our company in itself is only 7.5 or 7 years old after when we started OYO. Now, within this, if I take away the COVID years, we were only 5 or 6 years old when the COVID hit us, or 6.5, 6 years, I think, in terms of age. Even for our company, we have to constantly transform our business, as all of us as business operators are working on it. So currently, earlier the transition used to be 20 years, 30 years. Now the transition is almost 4 or 5 years. The world's changing very dramatically. So let me explain how we transitioned our business. Pre-pandemic, we used to get new hotels and homes through BD managers. So we used to have salespeople who used to take our Koyo and OYO OS app and used to go to individual hotels and provide the software. In the time of pandemic, people could not go out. Hotels were locked, cities were locked down, travel was limited, and so on. But small hotel owners now needed online business more than ever before. So they wanted to join our platform. So we did 2 new things. One, we launched OYO Sathi. OYO Sathi is a program where one hotel owner can go and sell the software to another hotel owner in their neighborhood. So that did really well. And then we also launched a program called Self-Serve. Self-Serve is an owner sitting in McLeodganj or some of these places can just come online, enter a bunch of details and go live on the OYO platform. And OYO would then take care of all the marketing. We will put them on 30, 40 other online travel agents. We will do dynamic pricing. We'll do everything required to make sure that our hotel partners receive more revenue than the market. So imagine a business which was primarily built on the back of digital lead, and then a BD manager will go and sign up, is now receiving a large part of storefronts through a fully digital, no human-based program. Or for instance, if I talk about our consumer side, earlier our consumers and owners service support, after sales service. So once the owner joins our platform, their service for any queries they have, or customers after they book us, their service for queries they have, used to be primarily call driven. In the time of pandemic, being able to run call centers became hard. And consumers, on the other hand, and merchants adopted to chat and chatbots like never before. More than 75% of our consumers and merchants now engage using chatbot and chat-based experiences. So, I can go on, but I think, I and our management team saw that in the times of the pandemic, innovation became cornerstone, whether in products and technology, like I told, or in hygiene. We partnered Unilever globally for trust labels on our hotels. We launched Vaccine for vaccination for our staff, and we put a label on the hotel saying, here the staff is entirely vaccinated. In those hotels, the business is slightly higher. So I think I'll take a pause here and share the future, which is essentially saying that I believe in the fantastic opportunity of travel and tourism in the future. And within that, the opportunity of technology to make a significant amount of difference. I and our management team have persevered through the pandemic. Almost none of our management people left during the pandemic, because we are focused and enthused about the future opportunity that is ahead of ourselves. And in that perspective, I believe that we'll of course see various challenges, but I think that we hope to create a company which people see and say that there can be fantastic consumer brands built out of India, which are successful in India, but also around other geographies that we do business in, like Southeast Asia and Europe. So with this, thank you so much, Mr. Agarwal, for your time, and back at you.
Thank you so much, Ritesh. You had an inspiring and incredible journey. We all are inspired and motivated. Seeing you at such a young age, you have achieved so much. And thank you for your rich ideas, which you have shared today with your rich talk. I am sure the points you mentioned is not only relevant for your hospitality industry, but most of our industry, for us to survive. And with this, if I may take the liberty to ask you a first question, like probably I'll opt for these. What are the lessons from the pandemic for smaller hotels and hoteliers, or for this hospitality industry, which you would like to share? And what significant changes has happened in the industry after pandemic? So if you want to share your thoughts.
No, I think this is a great question, Mr. Agarwal. So I will give you some on-ground experience of what we are seeing in our hotels and homes, right? So the first structural thing that we are seeing in the hotel industry is that earlier we were designed to have larger cost structures at an individual hotel level than required. Because sometimes like even in bigger hotels, if you go to the external portico, you will see like 8 people just standing there. So we see that there is, of course, more opportunity for efficiency, but doesn't mean, on the other hand, services can be replaced by technology. Services will still need to have the good old world hospitality. That is, somebody will need to greet you when you land up at the hotel. Your experience on check-in should be fantastic. And the appreciation of that, as people are coming back, when they see somebody smiling at the front desk, they just feel a lot more energized and happy, and that sort of remains the same. The second thing that we see, consumers are preferring small hotels and holiday homes now more than that of large properties, because we see that they're able to get an experience that is a lot more private and also just better for safety and security. Third, in the unorganized segment, people are looking for better rating, better service quality, something to give them confidence, saying that if I'm ought to spend, let's say 2,000 rupees, I'd rather spend 2,100, but I'd want to have an experience or a trust that I know that I'm getting into the right place. The fourth thing that we are seeing is a lot of staycations. People are driving closer home or road trips a lot more than flying, right? Like we are seeing our customers from Calcutta, for example, Kolkata, travel a lot more. I grew up in Odisha, so I'm just so used to say Calcutta, but consumers from Kolkata travel a lot to Gangtok, Siliguri, Guwahati, now more than ever before, because these are just so much easier to be able to get to Darjeeling and other places. I can go on, right? Like, but I think these would be the top few things that we are seeing in terms of travel and tourism space. And as hotel owners and homeowners, we are of course learning from them, but our learning what we can share with them is basically saying that COVID has taught us that consumer preference are changing and travel will never be the same again. But at the same time, travel will remain equally or larger a requirement of human society. So our job is to be enthused about the opportunity, but be strategic and smart about changes we need to make in our hotels and homes to make sure that consumers prefer our hotels and homes than other peers.
Thank you. That was quite insightful. With this, we'll open the interactive session with our members. Just a small request, as OYO is in the silent period, I request ICC members and delegates to ask questions related to hospitality industry and nothing specific to OYO, please. So may I request Mr. JB Pani from Odisha to take up the first question.
Oh, thank you very much. And it was nice hearing Mr. Ritesh Agarwal, and I love the way that you were absolutely honest about the learnings that you had, the learning curve that you went through, and in fact, the continuous learning that you are even now, and you are inculcating that into your entire team. I was very, very happy to hear about your Thiel fellowship. In fact, just as a suggestion, I would think that maybe ICC, along with OYO or something, can promote a similar fellowship with specific conditions for for India, wherein the entrepreneurs know that there is a course correction. And also, as I liked your statement of perseverance and think big. So course correction, perseverance, think big. This has to be inculcated into an entrepreneur. I mean, there normally entrepreneurs are there. And you also very categorically mentioned that entrepreneurs are not only big entrepreneurs, but every small little persons who can create jobs. So nice of you. So my suggestion would be, if maybe our ICC and OYO can team up and others can team up and somehow build a fellowship for entrepreneurship, taking your experience into account. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pani. That's a great advice, and I'll of course engage with Mr. Agarwal and folks as a follow-up. But I think specific to your advice, I think I want you to know that I feel very passionately about what you're saying, which is being able to make sure that small businesses and entrepreneurs can be very successful. So recently, being inspired by my own fellowship, I have started a small program where I provide an equity-free grant to young businesses focused on the hill regions for now, because OYO also has a substantial business there. So, and also on the other hand, I just feel like they're just fantastic entrepreneurs there who are doing some unique things. So, I will, if you're interested, I'll also share with you as a follow-up. But let me give you examples of the kind of companies there are. There's a company called the Himalayan Chocolate. This is an entrepreneur who's engaged with a few villagers and is making Himalayan focused chocolate. This person is already received order for next 8 to 9 months. And the grant money I provided him, he's using that to rent or buy a small trucker to be able to take stuff from the village to the urban town so it can be couriered to all around India. Today, he takes it in a bus and brings it to the bigger city. Then there is another person who sells Kashmiri trouts. Now, of course, you're from Odisha, so you'll appreciate chingdi fish more, but Kashmiri trouts are also quite popular. So they are enabling that logistics all around India. So there are some fantastic little businesses coming up who just require a little bit of help and can be very successful. So I'm fully on your same page, saying that in any way, being able to support new age, especially the small business, because for the big business, there are so many venture capital firms, private equity firms, and so on available. But for the small businesses, there are ways to support them and making small businesses cool, not to say that small is not good. That I think will be quite valuable. So I fully agree with your thoughts, Mr. Pani.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Shrikant, Mr. Goenka, you want to go next?
Hey, hi Ritesh, absolutely inspiring to hear what you said. I had goosebumps, just inspired by all that, by your story. Traditional firms and older firms and are always very conservative. They have a legacy and they're fearful of outcomes, which holds them from taking bold decisions. And whereas a startup, I guess, has not very much to lose in terms of being new in the game. How does a traditional firm become fearless? How do we learn from you?
This is a very tough question, Mr. Srikanth, but I'll try and attempt it. I think first off, I think being fearless really starts from the leader of the business or the entrepreneur himself or herself. So my perspective is that there are three things I would say. First is being fearless at the leadership, but making sure that you're accountable for those fearless decisions. One of the biggest risks is to be fearless is that have no accountability on it. So in our company, we have 4 core values. One is trust, second is respect, third is ownership, and the fourth one is bias for action. But in bias for action, I always say that bias for action actually has some word in the bracket before that, which is called accountable bias for action. That is, take decisions. If it is right, it is the credit for the entire team who made the effort. But if it is wrong, then you should only take charge and fix it. Typically in big companies, what happens is when something goes wrong, they bring somebody else to fix it. I feel that should not be the case. Whoever makes a mistake, they should feel that they have the right to be able to fix it, or at least get the opportunity to fix it. So I think that's sort of one thing, which is bias for action with accountability. Second is, I think, belief in saying that not taking a risk is the biggest risk, which is essentially saying that, if you look back in, let's say, the industrial era that really started, right? And again, I only have read about it. For people to not move from handloom-based world to the industrial format, would have meant that in 20 years, they would have no business to run. So I think recognizing that one needs to continue to constantly, thoughtfully evolve their business. Otherwise, the existence of business will in itself be at risk is a learning. And the third one, and probably one of the most interesting, is just looking at inspirations, right? Like even I look at inspirations around ourselves, like look at just in how amazingly companies like Reliance and Tata recently, Tata is doing an incredible job to move from a business which is so industrially focused to becoming so digitally and new age driven as we speak. So I think constantly looking at inspiration also helps me at least to constantly think ahead. So these are 3 things I would say.
Thanks very much. If I might just ask one more question.
Sure.
After having achieved so much in just like 5 years, I mean, what keeps you so modest and humble? It's unbelievable how modest and humble you were all through. What is it?
Sir, I think I don't think that. So I think it's maybe my upbringing. I think for my parents, the big aspiration for me was if I got like one of the IT company's job. So my lifestyle would be, very good if I was in one of those companies also in relative to what my parents expected from me. So now what I have gotten to is better than that. So I think my lifestyle and expectations have not substantially changed from when I started, but my hunger to create more impact, continues to grow every year. So maybe that's the case. And also one most important thing is knowing that, big companies basically can disappear in a couple of years if they don't keep their eyes and ears close to the ground. So maybe that feeling also maybe allows me to be closer to the ground.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Srikanth. May I now request Mr. Rupak Barua to go next, please, if you want.
Yeah, thank you, Vikash. Hi, Ritesh. If you recall, we went to Bhutan with Mr. Piyush Goyal. We had just before pandemic.
I remember this fully, and all of us, got together at the ground floor lobby and basically sort of had a good jamming session. So I remember that very well, sir.
That's right. And so, yes. So I would like to ask you, AMRI Hospital. So we are also discussing.
I remember
AMRI Hospital, Bhubaneswar, how to associate with your YO. So Ritesh, I have a very simple question, very short question. See, over the time in last 5 years or 7 years, there's a name this YO has reached. I'm talking about the pre-pandemic. I'm not talking about the pandemic part. But in such a short time, this YO has made a name as a brand. See, we all understand that any brand, it takes time. And to make a brand, it takes time. So top of the mind, recall the brand, it takes time. It's not that a very easy task. But if you see this in the today's situation, is it all the travelers, they talk about the YO brand as a whole. So my question is only in a very short form, Jay, what is the story behind actually? So what is your call? Is it this brand actually you have created, understanding, because as you were mentioning that your occupancy has reached to 80% from some of the hotels, they were maintaining around 20%, you have reached to 80%. So in this short span of time, so is it because of that you have identified the service, you have identified as a value for money, or the innovation, what you have taken into consideration so that you have created this brand in a very short time, so that we can also follow, because we are also in the healthcare industry, so the service industry, we can correlate. Right?
Mr. Barua, first off, you should know that your hospital is very popular all around east of India. So very happy to see you.
Thank you so much.
Coming to the specific question that you have, sir, in the perspective of what do I think that led to the impact and the size of this brand outcome? I think India in general, sir, I believe is a supply constrained market. Even in your hospital, you'll constantly see that there are more people wanting to get entry than the number of seats available or beds available in terms of demand. So because of India being supply constrained and demand being higher, that, at the end of the day, what I've seen is that if you provide right value for money, easy to book supply, that gets filled up very quickly. So from our perspective, what I feel I identified, or our company identified, is saying that there was a latent demand for reasonable quality, right price, easy to book hotel and home rooms. And nobody was able to bring that supply together in one place. We were able to bring that in one place, and that's why consumers chose us. And I don't think that's the case that's not the case in any industry. Every industry has a supply is limited and demand is higher than that. And hence, a challenge for you is saying how many hospitals can you run while ensuring that you can have the right healthcare quality at the right price point constantly. And similarly, for every business, that's my learning for our industry, that latent demand was the availability and supply was the problem.
Thanks, Ritesh.
Thank you, Mr. Barua. May I now request Mr. Chandar Mansharmani to please go next?
Sir, you're on mute.
You're on mute. You have to unmute yourself.
Ritesh, whom do you consider as your competitor? This is the first question. And what are the challenges you face now in your business as compared to, maybe there are so many other hotel chains which have come into in a 3-star or 2-star properties?
So, sir, I think two things. First is we consider our competition typically other companies or peers who replicated our strategy over a period of time. So in India, there are a few companies like that. In Southeast Asia, there are a few companies like that. I'm deliberately not calling their names because I'm under a silent period now. I think the second one, sir, which is around saying that the small hotel chains in tier 2, tier 3 or 2nd or 3rd star, we consider our opportunity to collaborate with them. We think that, for example, one of our hotel owners is a person called Deepak Singh Rana. He individually runs 10+ hotels. He started his hotel industry quest with OYO. And like him, there are a large number of multiple hotel owners and hotel managers who are growing their business on the back of our platform. So we think that people bringing more hotel chains, etc., is good for us, because we will then go to them, provide our KOYO and OYO OS app, and say that whatever business you're making, we can help increase it by dynamic pricing, content management, branding, distribution through our app, and so on. So we consider them as collaboration opportunity rather than anything else.
So you consider that they say take an opportunity as a kind of whosoever is your competitor kind of thing. And the other question was the challenges. What challenges within your own kind of business? What are the challenges you face?
So I think that's a very fair question, Mr. Chandar. I think, as you know, currently there is, for the last year and a half, the pandemic had significantly impacted the travel and tourism industry. So that there is no bigger challenge than that for our industry. But I'm very happy and thankful to share that the market continues to be very healthy. As you see, travel is coming back within your own, you will see family, your own business, you will start seeing people around yourself traveling. So as that comes back, we are happy to see results coming back. So that's the macro. I think in micro, there's just, incredible number of constant areas of focus, right? How do you make sure that every consumer has a great experience? How do you make sure that your partners or patrons, which are our hotel and homeowners, continue to be successful and you can resolve all their queries on the right time? So there are lots of micro details, but I think today the biggest challenge that has been for last year and a half has been the pandemic. But currently we are in very healthy times in that case.
Thank you, Ritesh.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Puri, Dheeraj, do you want to go next?
Yes, Ritesh, how are you? Fantastically spoken. I don't know whether you remember this, but 7 years ago, I was eating lunch with you where it was difficult to get a word out of your mouth. It was me, you, and Nikesh. And I think it was at a house or somewhere where I was sitting with you and I was placed on the table next to you. And I was finding it very difficult to get you to start speaking. So it's fantastic to hear you. So fantastic that I wish you could come and run my company. And so my question to you, Ritesh, is, did you have a mentor or anyone you look up to in this process over the last 7 years who has helped you through things? I mean, if it's not a personal question, who has helped you through things, or there's been, someone you've, wanted to be, or...
So, first off, Dheeraj, I remember well, it just, in reflection, when I remember those days, just feels like a box of cherries. So I think just fantastic to hear from you and reminisce.
I'm the only person, I think, from North India. I think very few. So I've heard West Bengal, East. I said, listen, someone from North India must say something.
No, I'm happy that one of now my new place is Gurgaon, so having speaking to one of our Delhi folks is always a good thing. But coming back to the context of learnings, right? Like I'll quote Nikesh here. Nikesh told me something very interesting back in the day. One gets to see light only when sun shines on them. So I think there have been many suns who have shone around myself for me to learn from, right? So there's back in the day when I just started, Bejul Somaya at Lightspeed was one of our earliest enablers, and frankly, he's been family. His daughters, when they give their annual birthday card to Bejul, they would put my name as a sibling beside their own name, saying that you spent so much time with Ritesh, we consider him almost like his member of family now. Then there's, of course, over the years of Peter Thiel, right after the Thiel Fellowship, I think Sonsan at SoftBank, he's been, of course, a fantastic enabler of learning and doing well. I learned from my colleagues. I learned from folks in the ecosystem, other founders and operators. So, I think that learning is a lifetime thing. And, I personally have learned practically all my life. So I try to make sure that I complete my MBA more by speaking to folks, for example, here at ICC, than pursuing it by like a professional school.
Well, now I'm looking at you as my mentor. That's beautifully spoken.
You to say, Dheeraj.
Anyway.
So we have with us Mr. Girish Vanwari also from Transaction Square. So Girish, may I request you to go next, please, with your question. Girish Vanwari, Girish.
I think he's on mute.
Okay, he's on mute. Maybe I'll take a question from the chat group. So this is for you. And what are the most important factors to be kept in mind while planning dynamic pricing for rooms? So this is from one of the audiences.
I think this is a great question. So I saw the question also. I'm just pulling it up. It comes from Mukulji, which is saying that what are the most important factors to be kept in mind while planning dynamic pricing. So there are 3 channels or 3 data points that we would use for being able to get dynamic pricing in our platform at least. One of them is the consumer-based data. That is, how often are customers repeating? What is the loyalty towards the brand and to the specific hotel? what kind of choices does the customer make? Is the customer more focused on quality, or is the customer saying that, okay, I'm willing to take a hotel which is rated even 3.8, but I would like to be near a certain location or a certain price. So what preferences they have. So we use these to be able to decide what would be the specific price for the user. Then we also use the neighborhood hotels competitive situation. And the third is we use the market situation in terms of, how many, is it a season or off season? Are we seeing enough amount of airlines, trains, buses, cars driving into the city? A combination of these three data points we used to be able to identify what is the right price, not just of the other hotel in dynamic pricing for through the day by time, but also by user, for saying what user should get what price and what experience.
Thank you. Before we end our session here, I'm not. There are a few questions on the Q&A, but I have a question here for you, Ritesh. Like a company like yours, who has crossed borders into Malaysia, Indonesia, and Europe, or any international market for, let's say, culturally, the business has to be flexible according to every new market it enters. So how do you ensure that? And what role does technology play in that process?
Absolutely. So, Mr. Agarwal, the most important is technology, because technology transcends boundaries. Technology transcends languages. Technology transcends, to some extent, cultures. Technology transcends ability to require distribution, because you can distribute just on the back of an app store or a Play Store. Technology transcends consumer and merchant feedback. I think a lot of these fundamental technological impact is very powerful as a part of the business. But that said, let's not forget that at the end of the day, the hotel owners are real humans and customers are real humans on the other side as well. So in that context, we try to build the right balance on both sides, where we try and use technology to be global, but customizations in those to become local across geography. So we would have a high quality team in Indonesia, Malaysia, Northern Europe, who can make structural amount of changes and are able to make sure that we are constantly making further improvements on the back of it. Today, if you drive around Indonesia or Malaysia, it's almost impossible to miss an Oyo hotel. And the brand is very popularly known, not because the consumers know that Oyo was a big business in India, because consumers know that their problem is getting solved. Hotel owners know that their problem is getting solved, and they feel very happy that this product was built out of India and is making a difference there. In fact, every time I'd speak to our hotel owners in Indonesia, they would remind us of so many cultural similarities that have gone from our country to there. So I think while there are customizations and differentiations by geography, for example, in India, payments are either cash at hotel or payments are online. But in Indonesia, payments are customers going to a supermarket store and paying there and thereby receiving a code which will be updated on the Oyo system. So it's not really cash at hotel, and it's also not really an online payment, somewhere in the middle. So these kind of new changes and solutions we have to make decisions on by geography, and we are willing to make customization by understanding the local culture and important customizations required.
Oh, with that, we have another question from the panelist, which says, how was the China experience and what were the learnings, if you want to?
So I think a few things, right? I think, of course, our company got to substantial scale globally around various geographies around the world, and we continue to service those geographies. However, with the impact of pandemic at fiscal 20, our company prioritized, and we have publicly shared this for the last 2 years, we have prioritized 3 geographies: India, Southeast Asia, and Europe as our core markets. And rest of the geographies are under Oyo International, which basically can use our software and get the revenue lift, but our primarily focus of growth will be in India, Southeast Asia, and Europe, because these are 3 markets. By the time last fiscal completed, our company had a reasonable amount of strong market position or healthy market position, as well as our growth opportunity was very healthy. So while we've learned different things from different geographies, there are 2 to 3 big picture learnings I will share from our global expansion. The first is that being able to solve a unique consumer problem is something that is appreciated around the world. Second, a top quality management locally matters a lot. And third is being able to remember that our country and our products are actually thought quite positively about around the world is also quite critical. And I believe that while Oyo has done it, I'm also seeing newer companies like Byju's, Urban Company, Cars 24, a lot of them trying or not trying, actually, they are able to do it at scale. So I believe that the moment where you will see Indian consumer brands in different parts of the world is arriving sooner than what we may have thought.
Thank you. This is really incredible. And if we have time, should we take this as the last question from Mr. Prashant Sharma?
Yes.
So we'll keep this as last question. Prashant, you want to go next?
Yeah. Hi, sorry, I'm in a crowded place, couldn't manage a better location. My question, Ritesh, is that tourism and healthcare are slightly similar in a certain nature. There are large hotels and there are guest houses where you have done magic. And there are large hospitals and smaller nursing homes. Do you think a OYO kind of a model could work in healthcare? And what would that be?
So I think first off, I think you're right that healthcare does have some similarities with our business also in terms of variability of touch points, right? While healthcare has more touch points than our business, but our business also has many points of failure as there can be in the healthcare. So it's a complex business, but at the same time, a primary user need. So I think you're absolutely right that there is an opportunity to be able to consolidate a large number of little nursing homes and bring them together in one place. The how of it is a little bit of a question. And as you know, many companies are trying to do it in different ways. I think on one side, companies like that of Practo and Pristine Care are taking a more surgery-driven lens. Some companies are taking a more, healthcare and, basically saying that diagnostics and surgery is what we will focus upon. I think there are different solutions people are going after, which I know from outside the industry. You may be, of course, inside, so you know a lot more. But my perspective is fundamentally bringing healthcare to the common masses at scale, at the right price point, but more importantly, with the kind of sensitivity and safety that and the soft glove approach that healthcare should come together with, I think is a real opportunity. But the how of it is frankly, I don't know. It's a very industry specific problem statement, right? So I think we'll only know, but I do believe that there is an opportunity in that because on one side, quality healthcare is eluding people for a long time. On the other hand, for a lot of these small nursing homes, the ability to be able to get reasonable quality improvement, right quality of surgery, etc., is a little bit of a challenge. So I do think that's an opportunity, but how, I think is not fully known to me yet.
Thanks a lot, Ritesh. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll end the session here. Thank you, Ritesh, for such a wonderful session today evening. And it is true that years 2020 and 2021 saw unprecedented growth in the adoption of technologies by industry at large. Many of these new technologies are going to evolve and continue to define the future based on consumer demand and market dynamics. Technology has the power to do many things, and changing the world is one of them. And we are privileged to be living in a time where technology can assist us, make our lives easier, and rethink the ways we go about our daily lives. And this is exactly how OYO has influenced our lives with the help of technology. Ritesh, we wish you and your team OYO all the best and eagerly look forward to a successful IPO launch of yours. And on a personal note, I would like to wish you a very happy birthday in advance. And with this, may I now request Mr. Pradeep Surika, our Senior Vice President, to kindly present the vote of thanks. Thank you. You are on mute, Mr. Surika. Pradeep, you're on mute.
Sorry. Zoom has taught us all these new little technologies. Now, it was really, really heartening to hear Ritesh coming from a small town, not even a B city, and having big dreams and achieving them. And I'm sure you're dreaming bigger and bigger, and concentrating on Southeast Asia and especially Europe. And really wish you all the best. And we look forward in ICC. We do have a good startup program. We do try to mentor a lot of these startups and things like that. And I would request Ritesh to be part of our mentor team with the startups, where the youngsters can, get inspired by you and see how they can learn from your successes, your mistakes, your failures, and your successes also. Thank you. Thank you, Ritesh, for talking to us and inspiring all of us.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Agarwal. Thank you so much, Mr. Sureka.
Thank you.
And, I really look forward to continuing to be engaged with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we look forward to see you in person soon. Whenever you're in Calcutta, we'll be.
Absolutely.
love to
Absolutely.
host.
I'll
Thank
reach out. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thanks, Ritesh.
Let me also give an invitation to come to Bhubaneswar ASAP.
No, thank you. Thank you so much. For the next 2 months, we of course have our potential offering that we're working upon, but I think we need all the best wishes and more. But once we're through, I'll absolutely be on the ground again. Thank you so much, everyone, for inviting me again. Have a good day.